From time to time, cartoons have uncanny similarities between each other. One concept which many cartoons like to create a storyline out of is entering the body. In most cases, this involves a shrink ray and a time limit before re-expansion. Despite it beginning to seem unoriginal, each show puts its unique spin on it. So I'm counting down the top 6 times cartoons entered the body. At number 6, we have SpongeBob with Squidtastic Voyage. SpongeBob and Patrick, messing around, accidentally lodge Squidward's clarinet reed in his throat. Sandy promises to dislodge it by shrinking her ship down to microscopic size and flying inside him. While she goes to get snacks, naturally, SpongeBob and Patrick manage to mess things up by going inside the ship, pressing the shrink button, and having to be the ones to carry out the mission. They make their way to the brain, messing up Squidward's neurological functions. After wreaking a load of havoc, they manage to dislodge the reed. With the journey almost complete, however, Patrick presses the grow button, and the ship returns to normal size while still inside Squidward. I put this last because it's largely driven by mindlessness and disrespect for Squidward, and there's not much more to it. At number 5, we have The Simpsons, with Treehouse of Horror 15. Maggie crawls her way into a giant capsule, only to be shrunk down and eaten by Mr. Burns. With the aid of Frink, the family shrink down in a ship to retrieve her. With a few mishaps, including crashing into Burns's heart, they eventually manage to retrieve Maggie. However, with the extra weight, they can no longer fly the ship back, so one of them has to stay behind. They all agree on Homer, so he's left there whilst the others escape. Once outside the body, they watch Homer re-expand. He attempts unsuccessfully to live a normal life this way. I put this 5th because there are a handful of laughs, but it didn't have as strong a storyline as some of the others. And when I watched it as a kid, I was very put off by the family's complete disregard for Homer, especially considering it was Marge's fault that Maggie wound up there in the first place. At number 4, we have Phineas and Ferb, with Journey to the Centre of Candace. Isabella's dog Pinky eats a Girl Scout sash, so the boys make it their mission to retrieve it. They shrink down in a submarine into a grilled cheese sandwich due to Pinky hating dog food. Unfortunately, he runs after a cat, so Candace discovers the sandwich and eats it herself. She proceeds to go on a date with Jeremy. Phineas and Ferb make a journey through the body and are clever enough to tap into Candace's nervous system to be able to see and hear what she does. They then control her limbs to make her hang from the monkey bars and try to make her sick. She stops this attempt, but eventually coughs them out. Before showing her mum the submarine, Perry and Doofenshmirtz turn on a giant vacuum which sucks up the ship, so their mum doesn't see it. I really liked this episode because it was the only one where they attempted to control the outer body, which was very clever. As good as it was only 10 minutes or so didn't have as strong a storyline as the top 3. At number 3, we have Family Guy, with The Mission Impossible. I gotta give them credit for the best episode title on the list. Being Family Guy, you can imagine that this episode's going to be cruder than the others. You'd be right, because instead of focusing on the digestive system and the brain, like the others, they travel somewhere else. Peter and Lois feel inspired after seeing Lois's sister give birth, so decide to try for another baby. Naturally, Stewie isn't on board, so makes many attempts to prevent this, including sleeping in their bed, getting makeup on Peter's shirt, and controlling a life-size mechanical Peter. With these proving unsuccessful, he chooses the next most logical plan: to destroy all of Peter's sperm. He shrinks down in a ship, enters Peter's body, flies to the testicles, and destroys almost every sperm. One, however, is piloted by Bertram, who is just as evil as Stewie, so they face off. Stewie then discovers that Bertram too hates Lois and wants to kill her. Stewie realizes that if it were Bertram, he would actually want a baby brother. They then sing together so that Stewie can escape through the tears. Peter and Lois decide not to have another baby, and Peter blows his load in the bathroom. Stewie's heartbroken, but when he sees the glint in Peter's eyes, he knows Bertram's still alive. In fact, he's actually born in a later episode. I put this 3rd because being Family Guy, it's hilarious, and it's also well plot driven. At number 2, we have Rick and Morty, with Anatomy Park. Rick has helped build a theme park inside a homeless man, but due to complications, Morty must go inside. He meets a bunch of people and creatures, and they must work together to try and save the park. One by one, though, they are killed off by various diseases and bodily functions. To help Morty escape, Rick has no other option but to grow the homeless man to the size of the USA. They escape through the nipple, and the man explodes, raining down on the country. This is obviously a very concise summary, so I recommend you watch it yourself. I put this second because they paid very close attention to detail to the biology of the human body, and went into the most depth. I also like the subplot of Jerry's parents having a new young partner. At number 1, we have Futurama, with Parasites Lost. Fry eats an egg salad sandwich from a truck stop men's room, which, unsurprisingly, turns out to have parasites in it. Later, he gets injured in an explosion, but his body miraculously repairs itself. Through examining Fry's body, the crew discovers worms, who've built quite a society for themselves, so make it their mission to eradicate them. Unlike the other shows in this list, more sensibly, the crew create miniature droids of themselves and use VR suits to control them, so that there's no worry of re-expansion. Leela stays with Fry to make sure he doesn't find out about the mission, so that the worms can't be prepared. She discovers that Fry has become incredibly sweet, thoughtful, and muscular. But when he says he's only been able to articulate his thoughts recently, she realizes it's since he ate the sandwich, so the worms must have been perfecting his body and mind. Loving the new Fry, she goes to create a droid for herself and enters his body as well. She destroys the droids of the others so that they don't kill the worms. Fry's grateful that they weren't killed, as they've made him a better, more healthy person. He has a romantic evening with Leela, and she says, "I love what you've become." This gets to Fry, as he needs to find out whether Leela loves him or the worms. He then uses the machine and goes inside his own body, asking politely that the worms leave. They see no reason to, so they have a sword fight. They travel to the brain, where Fry threatens to cut neurons. The parasites use Fry's body as their home, so don't want this. They cannot fathom why one would intentionally make themselves stupider, but being asexual creatures, they didn't understand that he was doing it for love. Fry proceeds to cut many neurons, and finally makes his way to the medulla oblongata, the control center of the heart and lungs. By slashing it, he would kill himself, taking the worms with him. The worms can't risk it, so accept that they must leave. Now, back to his stupid self, probably even stupider, Fry returns to Leela in real life. Unfortunately, she no longer seems interested. However, we do see in later episodes how this progresses. In my opinion, this episode is number 1 by a mile. In addition to exploring the body in an interesting depth, like Rick and Morty, and being hilarious, like Family Guy, what the other episodes in this lack is heart, and I don't mean they don't travel to the heart. The writing is so high quality that even if you're like me and don't really care for romance, you still get engrossed in the plot and really feel for the characters. I'd recommend anyone to see this episode, even if you've never watched Futurama. I hope you enjoyed my list. I only ranked the episodes I'd seen in the past. If there are any other cartoons which have done this that I'm unaware of, please let me know in the comments. Also let me know what you would have had as your number 1. Like and subscribe to let me know if this is the kind of content you want to see. And if you enjoy cartoons, definitely check out my other videos, as I make my own animations and would be so appreciative if you could help me kickstart what I love doing. In any case, thank you for watching.